think it was a pretty interesting day. Etchells sailing out there, nice job. I thought everybody very competitive on the start line and all the way around the course. And I think the wind was a little surprising to us. I know my forecast wasn't too spot on. I don't know how everybody else's forecast panned out, but that was pretty tricky, shifty day, much larger oscillations than we usually have here in San Diego. The pressure's up and down. That's not too unusual, but the big shifts mixed in made it pretty challenging. So I know in the first race, I think Chris Snow got away well at sort of the left middle of the line, extended a bit and was strong early, and then Vince, Rodney, and Julie came through and won that race. So maybe Julie and Rodney can run us through what your thought process was for race one.
I guess for the most part.
Thanks, Rodney.
This is live, huh?
This is Rodney Youthful.
Getting bigger. So no, today, the whole day pretty much we based our strategy just purely on pressure. So we just had a good look upwind. All pre-race, we're always looking out to weather, looking where the pressure was coming from and if there was any trends. As it turned out, there wasn't really any trend. Early on, it was a slow clock right, but we just basically looked for pressure and we just tried to set ourselves up on the start line so that we were always going to end up in the biggest part of the pressure for the longest time. And the number one priority for us was just getting off the line at full speed, because a lot of guys we saw were juggling, fighting pretty hard for an end near the committee boat. We didn't fight too hard because the Etchell carries a lot of momentum. If you slow the boat down too much, you can fall behind. So we just concentrated on being full speed and trying to stay under pressure, and everything else pretty much.
Not get to the line too early.
Yeah, well, that happened on the last race. But in the most part, most of the starts were pretty good. We could basically choose when our first tack was going to be, and that was important.
So what was the key moment in race one?
Just the first tack. We were worried when we tacked it first because we were split. I think there was us and you, and I can't remember who was in the left with us, but there was three boats in the left with us. So I was a bit worried because the numbers were in the right, and when we first tacked it didn't look so good, but then the pressure slowly filled and we wound up on port and it turned out well for us. So it's a little risky, but it turned out well.
All right. Anyone else have any comments, questions about race one? Setup. Strategy.
Were you at base or below base?
Base.
At base.
Okay, so race two, I had a lot of start. I kind of missed the whole race, and I just saw the 979 or some small, hard to read numbers like that way ahead of everybody. So really, why don't you explain how that happened?
Storytelling.
Well, in
So-
5 minutes.
So second race, I think we went down a step from base. So we just went one turn off on the uppers and diagonals. So that was. We felt like we were okay the first race, but not special, and so we just loosened up a little bit. And we might have even wanted to go a little looser, but in all of the stuff that we had done lineups and the really light stuff, that race was really light if I remember correctly. A lot of headstay sag and really twisty on the main and the jib seemed to work pretty well, and just kind of keep the bow down. We were pretty fortunate that the guy that lured us at the start kind of put the bow down at the gun, And by the time he came back up, we just kind of sailed straight, and so we had all the options to kind of put the bow wherever we wanted to go, and just with the real twisty setup, we just kind of motored forward out of there. And that seemed to be pretty fast. We were also focusing a lot on keeping the weight low in the boat. And that works more when it's really bumpy, but it seemed to work pretty well also when it's just really light. And so in that race, we kind of just went straight for a little while, and then we tacked, and we seemed to, I don't know if we were connecting the dots or going really well, but it seemed to work. And then in the first run, a little something to note that maybe can help the general group here is we're always analyzing what the wind direction is based on our upwind angles. And so we know what the wind direction is from the wind that's hitting the boat, and then we know what the wind the course axis is, and we determine whether that course axis is right or left of the wind direction. And so then we determine which it's a long jibe on the before you get to the windward mark. You already know which jibe is going to be the long one based on your upwind numbers. You split those numbers, you get your wind direction. And so we're looking to try and put that together, but that's a little bit easier to say than to do, because then you also have huge velocity changes as we saw out there today. And so we typically will go with long jibe first, and so that one we went around and jibe because it was kind of the right shift based on what the what course direction was. And so we went around and jibed, and Vince went straight, made us super nervous at one point. We thought you were going to be first by a mile, and then it all actually comes together at the bottom of the beat, or the bottom of the run. So you kind of get real nervous in the top of the run because you jibe set through all the bad air. The other guys kind of move forward, but then they sail in bad air later. And then you come into the bottom mark, and if you did it right and your plan worked, then at that point it did work, and we kind of caught the puff we were looking for, and we were on the long jibe, and so that kind of worked for us, and we were able to do it.
So you sail for pressure, or?
Mostly pressure. Yeah. My kind of communication to the crew is that we're always looking for the wind. And then it looked to me like a day of oscillating wind. And then it would oscillate, boom, 20 degrees left, 30 degrees left, and then it would sit there for 2 legs. We kind of got hung out at the third base. Usually when it goes left and it's been right, it's usually kind of going to come back at some point. And it just was a long period of oscillations. The next race was the right one, so it was really tricky. I couldn't put rhyme or reason to it. But.
Yeah, that's true.
Looking for breeze. We missed the. Was weird. So the third race, there was that big lefty that came in. Did anybody see that lefty? Seriously.
Which side of the course?
You saw the pressure?
Pressure, and it turned out to be a left.
On the run, we sucked on the run. That's one of the runs where we
Yeah,
lost.
remember they went all the way out.
Yeah, and the reason we sucked is because the breeze went 20 degrees left with pressure, and we didn't drive, and so that's why up the next beat we knew that there was left out there, so we sort of went out that way.
I wish we would have seen it. We're going to look a little beyond our current horizons.
Yeah.
See if we can sort that out.
Horizon wasn't near field pressure, that was far field.
Yeah, it was way out there.
So was it like far field strategy today, or
You
near
gotta have
field?
good sunglasses to see that far.
Mine sometimes.
We got youthful eyes, but we're looking for good sunglasses. Sorry, love our.
So Billy, when you were talking like you had dogs in the house, do you put any crew underneath the foredeck, or are they all?
No, I'm not that mean. I'm mean, but not that mean.
I don't know.
No, we kind of sit on the floor, and then Victor, they got, so Joe and Mandy are forward, to the leeward side. And then Victor's to windward, and I'm to leeward as well.
So downwind, you sitting on the seat?
Yeah, I learned it from you guys. No, I learned that from Dr. Piper in Miami. He sits in the seat like this, and he eats smoked coffee one day. That's the way to That's what I did.
He was sitting on the seat.
Yeah. On the windward side's better. You can see everything. It works. I tried it. You don't like it?
I'll try it. They put the lid down. All right, thank you, Billy. Nice job.
Thank you.
So race 3. What was that? That one.
That was a big shift.
That's when Vince was over at the start, right? That race 3?
That's
No.
race 4.
Trying to recollect.
But he came back from like 15th to 4th.
So we still had the light chip on, right? That's when we finally switched down to the light chip. Then started to freeze up.
Well, it's your fault.
Yeah, so, well, can't see the and whatever, there was a pack who was ahead early. Who's in that pack?
That was the pack from the right.
Yeah, the right won
The
the
right
first
pack
one.
won the first beat.
So who led the first mark in the race 3?
We did. I got him.
No, I think
You
that's
guys
pretty fast.
So what was going on here? We didn't 935.
I got him.
We started at the weather end.
Thanks, Matt Galley.
All right.
We started the weather end tack, went out right. We were like the third boat up on the line going right, and tacked below the 2 boats to the right of us, pretty much on ley line, and went in and kind of pinched one guy off in the first round and job set. That seemed like it worked as early in the last race, and the wind was kind of lighter going in there, and ride that pressure down. And the Lola did a good job of digging low on us and jived the right side, and first lure marker was second, and we kind of went off to the right. Hardesty was in third, kind of up on our hips, and around the other marker attacked pretty quick and kind of caved into us. It was all looking good. I didn't see anything out left, but we had not gone down to run on what would have been the left facing upwind, and so we didn't get any hint of that pressure left into Argyle and several other boats headed to us. We kind of got out to the right and tacked back, and shit, we're kind of ahead of them, but it's not looking as good as it did. And then as we got converged, it just went huge.
Yeah.
Pressure and the 25-degree header with a lot of pressure on the other side. Yeah. So we ended up kind of underneath tacking short, and it was better to go all the way to the left. So that didn't work out so well for us. But we ended up 8th, I think. So it wasn't good to be how that we were losing.
So our
That was the
guys,
biggest shift of the day, I thought.
what did you guys see and do?
Well, we not by choice so much, but we did go around the right-hand mark at the bottom of that first run. And then we went out a little bit, and then we waited for the people in front of us to tack, so we had to go out a little further, and then we went out a little further. Then we went out, hell, why not just go out a little further, tacked, and cruising along, and wind shifted. It's cool. So we weren't going very good, but I looked down there and thought to myself, yeah, we might be in first place. This is good. So there's just more wind out there, right? We were hiking. Everybody else, we looked to the boats on shore, and they were all sitting in the boat. We were all 3 of us on the rail. So that was good.
That's very good. That's how you get it done.
We had a little fight with the boat downwind, but we were lucky enough to inch him out at the end.
1 foot.
1 foot's good enough.
That's good. 1 millimeter is good enough.
All right, well, so bring race 4. Rago,
We
race 4.
We started up at the boat. We were probably the closest boat to the boat, and had a pretty good start. Could have extended, but opted to tack first, and nobody around us really. Like a lot of times, you guys have a bad start in the belly behind you, or we tacked, no one tacked for a little bit. And so we ended up fairly extended to the right on the line.
So there was nice pressure at the start, right?
Oh, yeah, fine.
12, 13.
Yeah, 20. It was the winningest race, and we had good wind, and we
So what was it, your still base setup? Or?
we went back to our base. We kept getting looser and looser. We're kind of still learning this boat, and we softened things up as in race 3 was significantly better than the first 3 races. But then race 4 came around, like, oh, go back. So we went back to kind of the way we had sailed yesterday with Tom Carruthers and Breeze, and so we sailed all day in that velocity and kind of knew where to go. And so we were going pretty good. I don't think we were lazy, but we certainly nobody was going faster than we see. But we were extended out. So the whole line going to the right was behind us and above us. And we just kind of, I wouldn't say the wind went right. Everybody to the left, and I mean, second to the mark was Bill Hardesty, and he came from the left. So those guys are holding a high line, but we had speed and just kind of got out of there, just a little ahead of everybody.
So why'd you guys start at the right?
Just try to get clear, and the right had been good. Like we got first to the weather mark, and the third race starting to the right. So it just, I don't know for sure. Yeah, just trying to get it. You know, you're fighting in this class to get it. Am I going to start in the perfect place and go the right way, or am I just going to get a good enough start to tack and be clear, and just start sailing my numbers immediately? And you watch 3/4 of the boat disappear. It's got to be one of those. Almost any spot. You might not win the race, but you're going to be in the game. But if you don't get out, you're back. So that seems like a plausible way to get out for us. Tack quickly, get going. And like I say, we didn't ever head going out there. But we got.
It was pretty close. I mean, we came
It was really close. We got close to the land line. We were a boat length.
That leg, the left and right, were the most even of any.
Exactly. We got to the weather mark. We were a couple lengths ahead, and then by the time we got to the weather mark, we were just 1 length ahead. So we were talking on our team like, man, you hike hard. You work for every little puff. That boat length is everything in that race.
So you went all the way out to the right?
We tacked back short of ley line. We had another little 2 tacks at the end, and kind of let everybody from the left go behind us and tacked, and then by the time they came back on the ley line, we still were controlling, but just barely. And got around just in front. And probably could have leave out Bill going into the market, made it, but we crossed him and rolled him a little, and then he had the pin, so that opened up a little gap for us when we were able to hold on down the rod. And we had a good leeward mark call to go right mark, right turn, out to the left, and he went the other mark and Melvin came.
You think that we could cross you at some point on that, when we went right to the left mark, we went to the right, if you had Scott in there?
I don't think you ever could have gone. You're in the main window the whole time. But you know what? You guys did great on the run. You kind of almost controlled where you could have gone. You really had them kind of fighting you, but so we had to kind of just, he said about halfway down before the last jive into the gate that we wanted the right gate, and we were going to fight hard for that. Luckily, you jived and went to the left gate, so that opened up that. So you were gained a lot on the run, and we were just holding on. It was fun sailing out there. I never really sailed around the corner and in there like that. It's pretty volatile, and it was good, fun racing. And I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I have a little more maybe court sense.
Oh, no, it was completely different tomorrow.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Anybody else have any questions for Jeff? This is Jeff Madrigali, by the way, for those that know him.
Sailing with Jim Cunningham and Carl on the 935.
Solo Olympic medalist and great all that stuff. There's your chance, man. You got him right here.
Did you change your settings for the last race?
Yeah, we had gone off on the head stay for the third race, and that was better. And then we finally kind of felt better in that lighter air, and then all of a sudden between races it got kind of windy, and like, holy crap. So we kind of put the 12 turns back on the head stay and got back to where we had sailed yesterday a lot with Tom, and felt pretty comfortable there, and we were going just fine. We're still kind of learning this boat, and we basically sail with not as much rake as I normally do, and more chops behind. And towards that third race, we got more rake, more comfort zone, and that was better for our boat. But we sailed all day yesterday with Tom in that hiking condition, and so we never saw this in the boat stuff until this morning. So, yeah, one time and dry. So after 2 races, we kind of figured out that we weren't going that great. Manual's too full and not quite enough headspace side. So we kept putting more blocks behind, but eventually, like, we were getting towards the front of the hole. I don't know. Maybe we got to try something else. Front back or SDYC, something. So, I have to say that this fleet as a whole is very tuned up for these conditions. They're not only boats you get next to you just saw them off. Where the Jaguar, some conditions, some boats rip, and then they're just so off in other conditions. And I think you guys sail a fairly consistent kind of condition, a bumpy, moderate, with soft breeze, and you're good at it. You really got it. So, you got to fight hard.
Are you in line to speak?
All right, so our overall leader, Vince Brun.
Then.
There you are.
Vince has a slim.
The starts? You want you guys to want some help on the starts?
Despite
Can't help the starts.
Just make sure you block it.
tenuous 1-point lead over Fred. Where's Fred?
Good day, Fred.
That's a proof that anything can happen.
Fred, why don't you tell us what makes you so fast? Come on.
Tell the truth.
By the way, Fred won the last regatta here Sunday. That's who won the last regatta.
I mean,
He's got a lot faster.
after the Worlds, the boat just got tuned up just right, and the things loose. And thanks to Billy, he told me
What did I tell you?
when we stayed ahead of you at the Worlds for the last race, he said, "You gotta relax back there." That's what I'm doing, and it works. It's hard to relax when No, it works. The boat is really quick, and I don't know why, guys, but lately, because we're using our sails as we had in the Worlds. Yeah, 2 seasons, sorry, guys. 2 seasons, and the boat is just very relaxed. I've got a great crew. My wife is doing a fantastic job up there, and a couple of different middle guys and soudeurs, and they're good friends. So it's been good. And today was just velocity. I mean, that's all it was, all pressure. And we did get lucky one race. We went left and goodbye. This is good. So that was a good race, and part of that being on the good side of the good ship.
So is your rig looser than it used to be?
Actually, it was too tight. The first race it was too tight. And then we had a right loosened that afterwards, and we cranked up quite a bit in the last race. And we were really quick. I just worked the turnbuckles from the outside. Put it down.
How big a changes were you making?
Total today, 3 turns on the uppers and 1.5 in the lows.
What kind of
I have no idea what mine is.
turnbuckles?
I don't know.
The open turnbuckles, the open.
Yeah, the open turnbuckles.
Yeah.
I'm not that fancy. Sorry, guys.
Spark plugs?
It's an old, yeah, that.
Janice works hard.
That works hard, exactly.
The open ones are double threads.
No, it was truly today was a little bit of luck, which really helped, and looking for the pressure. Same as when 975 won that third race, we were right behind them. We did not opt really truly to go to the left, but we had to get the right mark and at the gate, and we went right, and the pressure was right there in front of us, so we carried on at 10 boat lengths and dropped. And that's what it was. Thanks, guys.
Nice job.
So one of the things that I learned on the Etchells, like training, before the World, training with Bill, and which was very good. I mean, we had a training sections, which was, it's funny. You know the guy from like many years, and you see him growing up, and you see him kind of coming to be a an incredibly good sailor. And I was impressed in how humble he was before the Worlds, because he was the favorite to win the Worlds. Everybody expected him to win the Worlds. And he said to me, well, Vince, you want to go out? You want to tune up? And I felt like, God, he's faster than everybody right now. He won the regatta just before the Worlds, and what do we have to give to him? He's only us, which we're gonna get the most of. And but you know what? That's a guy that is a smart guy, because you always get something out about tuning with somebody else, and he basically got faster. I'm sure he did. He got faster, but he also helped me a little bit. We got faster too, and we just he kind of raised our bar a little bit so we can do a little bit better. And one of the things that I thought, he was like that open that he kind of let me go over there in his boat and take pictures and say, oh, this is all set up and everything else. And the thing that I learned there was, first of all, he's a person that is just like, understand that you just like, you want to get better. You cannot ever be at the top. If you think you're at the top and you start to just kind of hold up because you're at the top, you're missing the point, because it's always, you can get a little bit better than where you are right now. And the thing that I learned from him was that, my reaction, you hear all these things we talk about all the time, about rig tuning and everything else. And I think we tend to overreact. And what Rick just brought it up was, is that like you want to have the rig in the boat is, it's a different story, but the boat is really stiff, as Bruce and I found out one time when we were trying to get a heel over Kevin Hoyt's boat at the dock.
You're like, you do that.
So anyway, the boat is incredibly stiff. So you needed power all the time. And so we tend to kind of like depower the boat a little too quick, thinking that we're sailing maybe a star boat or maybe sailing a lighter boat. And you want to sail the boat powered up, even when it's windy. And I was overreacting, and I would go, 2 turns tighter on this, and I think I was overreacting. And that step forward and all this, and I think is the lesson here that I got is that just you can use power all the time, even when it's windy. And people tend to just go, oh yeah, we need to get the boat set up for more breeze, and you tend to overdo it. That was my
Just high-hearted.
well, high-hearted, put the trawler down a little bit, pull a little bit more backstay, but they just don't start just changing the rig, because as soon as the breeze goes down a little bit, the gainers are happening when the breeze is down, not when the breeze is up. The gainers are when they're in the lows, and when the lows come, if you don't have the boat set up right, you lose a lot.
Yeah.
You lose very little when it's a big puck.
In San Diego, you pretty rarely have to really change,
Right.
to a high wind.
Today, like we changed for the last race, we went, Julie went with 2 turns, right?
Three and three.
3 turns in the lowers, because then when the gets a little bit windier, it lowers, making the lowers a little tighter, makes the boat a little bit free. It's a little easier to steer. I didn't even worry about making the uppers tighter. I just went in the lowers, because all it is the relationship between the lowers and the uppers to get the mast a little bit straighter, other than be sagging in the middle to do it. And so if you make the uppers tighter too, then you make the rig stiffer, and it's a whole thing. But I don't think that's a big issue. All you have to do is just pull the lowers a little tighter, the boat feels a little bit more free, and you're going to be able to kind of sail. It's going to be a little bit easier to steer. But So that's the only change we did all day. And so, again, that's, I think it's just like the boat is pretty damn stiff.
You know, Vince, there's something I want to say. That's what what I've learned in the last couple of years. Is I've learned to sail with a flatter main. When I got from you a PC flat, then.
Yeah.
Yeah, the difference it made, the groove is tighter on the boat, but whenever you get in clean air, I really flatten my main, open the top, crank the jib, tight, and we can pretty much outpoint everybody right now, almost all the time. And in this, I slowly learned to sail the boat in a very, very tight groove with a flatter main.
So how do you get the mainsail flatter?
Well, it depends. Sometimes it's the mast butt, sometimes it's the block, sometimes it's the backstay. But usually trying to sail the boat with a flatter main when I can.
So let me ask you a question. So when you were sailing before and now, do you have the mast butt flutter back?
No, the mast
The
butt, I play more with the blocks for sure. And I do play with the mast butt in between every race, pretty much, depending on the previous one and where it was. But learning with to sail the boat with a flatter main is when I really made a change from being in the back 2/3 to the front third of the fleet.
Right.
That's really the only real change I need. So I just want to say that made a big difference to me.
So one thing that I talk with people every day about like stiff mass and soft mass. And so one of the things that I kind of getting to me more and more is that if you have a stiff mass, you're going to have to go with the mast butt a little farther back. And it's going to, the lower part of the main is going to look a little flatter than the other guy with the soft mass. But that's in the end is okay, because all you're trying to do is getting the sail to be flatter, like he said, and so you can not stall so much, because if the full main, it's really hard to trim, and you both kind of point, but doesn't go forward.
Closer to the slot.
Yeah. So anyway, I think the difficult part of the Etchells is that depending on the mast you have, the mast gap position to me is one of the most critical things on the boat.
So actually had a lot of really good, sailors on the race course today, which was really fun and nice, and actually curious to hear any of our all-stars have any observations, comments they might like to add to the
I have a
proceedings
question.
here.
I know there's been a little bit of chat about like inboard leads on the jib and windward sheeting or in-hauling or whatever. Has anybody done that, and is it working? Have you been doing that?
Yeah.
I'm doing it whenever I'm in clear air.
You just pull the windward sheet, or you have a...
Well, I started by rigging some garbage to a bunch of lines in the barber hole, way too complicated. So yeah, I'm pulling the weather sheet.
Just pull the windward sheet a
And
little
it's
bit?
only,
A lot or a little bit?
and I watch the boats. I know I'm gonna be pointing higher, so I just watch the trees,
Yeah.
Try going. As long as I go fast, I know I'm high.
Yeah.
Bringing it up to 2 inches.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
For sure it was good today.
Yes, we were doing any time that we felt like pointing was needed, we were doing that.
Both of the jib's really full already, though. There's the struggle we were having. We would go on with the windward sheet a little bit in those spots once we were up to speed. But if the thing's full enough already, I think.
Yeah, so if you have a lot of forestay sag, for sure you're not gonna want to pull the board.
Right.
But if you have the little tighter forestay, pulling the shit, it's just changed the lead. It comes to like in the 8 to 10 knots is the kind of the sweet spot there in the Etchells, which is basically you actually end up pointing a lot higher without any shift. It's just more pressure, right? It's a velocity shift. And when you get in that spot, you end up sailing a lot in the inside the tailtails. Like you're sailing inside the jib a little bit, pretty much going upwind. In that conditions, in particular, that's when you can pull the weather sheet a little bit and it works. because the jib is under trim, basically, because the boat point's so much higher that then the jib is kind of under trim. It's always feel like the main, it's always about the main talking with the jib. You cannot have the main trim a certain way and not matching the jib. The jib has to match, they both have to kind of be talking to each other. And so to be able to get there without a, when you pull in the winter sheet, you're able to kind of have a tight mainsail trim, which that's what Frederick has. You tight mainsail trim, and that will work because basically you're going to be able to trim the jib kind of to match the mainsail. But it's very, I don't want people to think that that's something you can do all the time, because it works in certain conditions, but you have to be very careful, because if you want to go forward, you definitely don't want to pull the water sheet. So it's some conditions when you start to sail a little light on the jib, that you already trim hard, but it's light, it pull into winter report.
All right, so any final questions?
Yeah, what about the star sailors? That was a good question.
What about?
You asked the question, and this is a star sailor too, so that was a good response. What about the other?
They already told us the jibs are too round. What was the other?
Boats are too heavy.
They don't accelerate.
Nobody's liking.
No, they don't like.
They don't turn.
What else
Whatever
you
is
got?
having more fun.
Yeah.
Zabel?
Zabel? Oh, God. I think my comments are like, it seemed like maybe the wind wasn't lifting up over the point today, and it was kind of wrapping around the left side of the point or the right side of the point, and we'd see all left pressure, all right pressure, and then it was real weird that downwind you'd go on that pressure that was on the one side of the point, and you get headed. So I don't know if that's, somebody maybe knows more about weather than I do, but it just seemed like it was low wind wrapping either side of the point. As far as the weather sheeting, I think that made sense when we had one guy on the rail. We'd weather sheet a little bit, and that worked a little bit then, and we got some point out of that. Other than that, still trying to figure out how to trim a kite on the run, but yeah.
So should we move the race course in or out?
Yeah, it's good fun though to have shifts. It's good fun to have shifts in 4 races, so it's all good. Yeah. Yeah.
Get some dynamite.
Maybe the Navy's do it for us. That's Ocean Beach.
Oh, some islands, now to get the Navy.
All right.
Mexico might get this.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks
for
listening.
listening.